Yung one is yung, ano diba, yung lighting, okay.
Yeah, okay. So Joe, we just started recording. So in terms of the outline for the session, I guess you'd start with the framework on sustainability, the different aspects. So this one, we're gonna focus on the community partners, right? So when it comes to community partners, we'll show a video and we'll basically say hybrid. Yeah, the video talks about community business and we'll say we are a community business because we care about the social and the environmental, the economic in our community.
Yes.
Right now, if we care about it, then the way that we will address it will be through our CSR programs.
Yeah.
Right? So we have 3 main CSR programs at the moment. And then with each CSR program, we have a main community partner, but there are other partners pa. But parang meron yung main nakadeal natin. Kasi, actually, one way to do it, Joe, is hybrid deals with the business partners, the funding partners, the governmental partners. The community partner, yung nag-deal kay
Sa people's organizations. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So parang tayo yung link, we're the link, but we bit natin yung ecosystem natin. Sila naman yung responsible yung sa ecosystem sa baba.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And maybe the way we show it, Joe, is more there's us with our ecosystem, then there's the community partners with their ecosystem. And together we're mobilizing for the community. But what happens is between us and the community partner may relationship.
Which I think yung 5 na sinet natin, ganun pa rin naman yun, yung 5.
Yeah. That's more how Joe would draw it.
That's right. That's right.
But does that make sense? So there's sort of us, we and our ecosystem, and then there's the community partner with their community-facing ecosystem.
I like that. So like these two.
Right. But we're mobilizing our side, right? Because we have to pick what are the right products.
Yeah.
We have to find donors.
Yes.
And then see community partner has to work with DepEd, has to work with the tribal council,
That's right.
etc. Right. So
Whether it's
together you can now help the people. Right. So okay. So from there we have three of those. So it's the same framework, iba lang yung mga pangalan. Right? Iba yung goal or iba yung context and goal. One is education, one is disaster, one is more reaching unreached church, or what do you want to call it? Reaching that church. Right? So parang in remote, parang the most, I think maybe the 3 L's na lang. The last, the lost, and the last, the lost, the least. The last, the least, and the lost.
The least privileged.
Okay.
And the last mile, the last to get help, diba? Parang the lost. So I like 3L. Maganda yung the last, the least, and the lost. Yeah. So that's our program. That's Light and Love. That's the goal of Light and Love. So and then sa education naman, it's the goal is to be able to, we want to enable very students and teachers in places without electricity, very remote, to be able to avail of the best the best education possible. Which means that you have to have light, you have to have computer, you need communication. Can you imagine an education na walang ilaw, walang computer, walang internet? So that's what we're doing together. So we're enabling them to access the best, the best of DepEd, but so that they can reach their full potential. That's education. And then the third one is more kung emergency disaster. When kung nadamay, we can enable them to mabilis yung emergency response. Meron silang ilaw, we can power the communications, mobilize help, etc. They can charge their phones, they can communicate. So we provide an essential service during the disaster. Para makaahon kaagad and then from there we can help with their rehab. Yung parang the stages kasi there's normally may disaster prep muna, tapos kung may nangyari may emergency response, so that after when the emergency is done you're not going to get them back on their feet. Right, so parang we're actually relevant at all phases. But maybe we just focus on your immediate emergency response. Right. So on the last one, when we talk about emergency response, we have our main stakeholder right now is the MFIs.
Okay.
But we're also starting to partner with the churches through FinRats. Right. So MFIs can help us reach their members na natin. Si FinRats can help us find the local church who can help the people in the area. Right. So I don't know if you want to choose one or the other or both. Kasi dalawang example yan eh.
Yung isa NGO, yung isa church.
Yeah. And right now I would say let's not talk about FinRats kasi wala pa.
Wala pa naman.
Right. But yung MFI nandiyan na. So in that case, our local partner is also our business partner. Yeah.
But different goal. Kasi doon, sila mag-fine. Dito naman.
Yeah.
Sir, yung parang for Friday lang, ang yung parang discussion. Yeah, we have this one.
Yeah. So we laid that out, and then the discussion now is ano yung relationship between us and the main partner.
That's right.
Right. We don't need to focus on all the others. It's just between the two of us. You're right. So what are we trying to do together? Ano yung what's the role of each one?
Yeah.
How do why in a way the SOP ano yung because I want to be able to get people to understand that we have to do this in a particular way para it's empowering, it's sustainable, it's cost effective, it's impactful, diba? So parang so maybe as we talk about what we're trying to do together, dapat we have to say something about how do we do it in such a way that it's parang maganda yung program.
Yeah.
So you can talk a little bit about ano yung typical versus yung hybrid, ano yung pagkakaiba. Right. So basically, Joe, we're talking about we're trying to do this together. Let's talk about when we do it versus typical, right? So sa typical, let's say lighting up homes, pupunta dyan, magdo-donate ng ilaw, tapos alis. Right? And then, so number one, nasanay sila na wala silang counterpart. Diba? Parang dole out
lang siya.
tayo, pag pupunta tayo dyan, meron silang counterpart. Right? So, number two, yung binibigay natin, high quality, normally na-donate, hindi maganda. And then, madaling masira. Number three, sa atin may training. Sa kanila, walang training. Number four, kung may masira sa atin, may after sales sila, wala. Right? So,
wow. You guys have after sales for donations?
of course.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
may warranty
amazing.
yan. May warranty yan. May karapatan ka na.
Ipuntahan ko lang ating tech part.
Where have you heard of donations na may warranty?
So parang sa akin, dalawa yung discussion. Number one, when we work with partners, ano yung typical and ano yung parang yung way.
Yes.
Right. So right away, you see the difference.
Pulido sa atin.
Yeah. Sa atin, we can also respond right away. Sila, kanila, mas mabagal. Yung mga donors, meron tayong ibibigay balik meron tayong impact. Right? Sa iba, yung donor that doesn't know what happened.
Yeah, parang
Walang kwento, walang testimonial, wala.
Para lang masabi na kami. Yeah. That's a typical, diba?
So I think that would be a very useful discussion.
Yeah.
When there's a disaster, typically comes what are the programs. So what we would just do, Joe, is we would give the topics. di ba? In a typical, di ba, what's the typical? So number one, for example, ano yung gamit, ano yung denominate?
Yeah.
Right, so yung product, sabihin mo, products na
Okay.
denominate,
Okay.
di ba? Or no, let's say solar, it's solar to solar.
Okay.
Solar to solar tayo, right? So, but basically, cheap, super cheap, madaling, masira yung ating pag matagalan.
Yeah.
Okay, number two, training. Sila wala, tayo meron. Number three, after sales. Sila meron, wala, tayo meron. Right? Tapos yung back report, sila wala, tayo meron. You could sort then yung mga counterpart. Wala, right? Donate lang, dole out sa atin, may counterpart. So maybe Joe, if we kind of give that as the discussion guide,
Yeah.
you can then compare on these dimensions, ano yung typical, ano yung sa atin.
The hybrid way.
I don't know if the
I like that.
can, understand that Tagalog. We should use
So can I try to summarize based on what you've said so far? So yun nga, we show the video and then we say we are a business that wants to serve the community and maybe show the old chart, the parang constellations chart, and say, when you think about serving the community, this chart will actually look more like this than this current chart.
Yeah.
Why? These guys in the back enable us to do our jobs. And that enables us to connect with these people. And these guys have their own constellation as well.
Correct.
And in that
Yeah.
overlap, in that connection, that's where we serve the community. So I'll change the drawing a bit.
Yeah.
And then, so here's different ways hybrid does this. So those outreaches get the educational, disaster, the churches, the light and love. And we describe the outcomes na nakakatulong dapat siya, nagiging empowering dapat siya, sustainable dapat siya, hindi masyadong mahal, diba? It's cost effective for us. And then we'll get into, now given that, these things na nakakatulong, empowering, sustainable, this is what makes hybrids community service different. Kasi marami naman gumagawa nito. Pero hindi naman siya, kunyari, kung hindi, maybe like yung may discussion question, paano kung hindi siya empowering? Anong effect nun? Then naging dole out, naging dependent tuloy yung mga, that's the response we want. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's too much now. I think that the main
Okay.
the discussion. So once you lay out, like, let's say example one, we have example 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So example one, I think once you you discuss muna sino yung stakeholders. So we would give that to them, right? They just need to, parang understand the map, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So the first one is
Yeah.
sino stakeholders, right? So the first discussion is, what in this context, ano yung goal natin together? What is our common goal? Kasi di ba kasi yan yung unang in a partnership, we have to have a common goal.
Common goal.
What's our common goal, right? So that's discussion one, right? So then the second one is, kung yan if that's our goal, how do we go about it? That's different from the way that most people do it. Right? And so we would give them one sheet of paper with 4 or 5 dimensions, and you would just talk about typical versus hybrid. Hybrid with our partner, hybrid with the community partner. So then they fill it out, and then and then you kind of step back from that and say, why is this better, right? Or you say, which one is better?
Yeah.
Right? And then we say the hybrid way is better. So ganun yung, in a way, ganun yung design, ganun yung magiging SOP natin when we do these kinds of programs. Right? Now, and then the third one, if you want to, I'm not sure if we need to, you then say, what do we do versus what does the community partner do? Or maybe we need that after discussion one. You find what are we trying to do together? What's our part? What's their part?
Yeah.
Right, and then you get into how do we do it, versus the normal way. And then which one is better? Parang yan yung discussion. Yun, diba? Parang ganun lang yung discussion.
Yeah.
then they understand a program and they understand, when they see a CSR program, we call it Light and Love, kung ano yan. We need the chaplains for, some yung chaplains are, I think they're part of hybrid in a way, yung chaplains. Part ng hybrid, yeah, so within hybrid naman may, so there is a may hub manager, may chaplain, may, kung iba na.
Yeah, yung time. Yung support.
Yung slide, diba local pastor?
Local pastor yung church, pero yung mag-recruit ng local pastor si chaplain.
Chaplain.
So I think what might be interesting is like, if you say, what's our part?
Mm.
You kind of can look at, what does the solarista do? What does the HM do? What does the chaplain? May kanya-kanyang ginagawa. But that starts to get much more detailed now. It might be starting to get a bit too detailed now, because we're gonna have 3 of these discussions.
Ano yung goal?
Yeah.
Pangalawa would be,
What's the role of each?
what's the role of hybrid, what's the role of community
Yeah.
work? And then,
Ano ginagawa nila?
yes, pangatlo would be,
Like,
parang differentiating how hybrid does it versus
what's the difference between how we do it versus what we do?
yung typical.
Yeah. And that one ends with, what do you think is better?
Yes.
So
So realization. I think that's about.
I think that's a very good
That's about
discussion.
Loaded na rin po yun.
Loaded na rin.
Yan.
And I think eye-opening.
Eye-opening sa
Okay,
kanila.
and then we can connect our CSR to our
Yes,
values.
correct.
But what we're trying to do, Joe, is these are our values, right? Diba? These are our company values, and in a way, helping the community is one of our values. Kaya
That's right.
that's why, but in a way, diba, we're framing it na, why do we care about the community? Yung unang discussion, the first discussion, why do we care about the community? It's because without the community, we're not sustainable. Right, so I don't know if you can establish that upfront, diba? Kasi the higher level is community partners are part of sustainability.
Yeah.
Right, and when we frame sustainability, it's kind of our sustainability.
Yes.
Right, so why do we need to do CSR?
Yeah.
For our sustainability?
Mm.
Right, and I think that's your video kind of establishes that as a community business, we're relevant. So is it essential for our sustainability, or just something that we should be doing as good corporate citizens?
Yeah,
I think it's essential.
yeah.
Diba parang, how would you feel na benta ka ng benta, tapos may typhoon, naghingi ng tulong, hindi wala kang tulong.
Next time, bahala kayo sa buhay.
Yeah. That's how you,
Wala mo na ginawa para sa amin.
that's how you introduce it.
Diba?
Diba? Parang, so maybe that's that first discussion, Joe.
Yeah.
Bakit importante yung community service?
Yeah. That comes even before the video.
Okay, let me give you a scenario, di ba? Benta kayo ng benta. Tapos kung may nangyari, may lumapit sa inyo, naghihingi ng tulong, anong gagawin mo? Dapat meron tayong way na maka-respond. Kasi kung hindi tayo nag-respond, every time na naghihingi sa ng tulong,
Yeah.
may magiging tingin sa akin.
At the same time, sir, parang that's for disaster, pero
Yeah.
for those mga unwritten church.
Yeah.
Just imagine that yung product natin is giving life.
Yeah.
And yet meron tayong mga community na wala. Ano ginagawa ninyo? Ibenta lang kayo for business.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang ganun.
Also for the ones that can afford.
Yes. So parang yung
Yeah.
yung image natin, of course, na hindi
Yeah.
na. Kasi yung goal namin is to create just for those
Yeah.
can buy, but also
Also for that,
Yes.
I mean,
So parang it creates
Yeah.
parang word of mouth,
Yeah.
reputation
Yeah.
na this ano.
Hindi lang yan sa kidnap.
No, hindi lang
Tumutulong yan.
Hindi pang sa na.
Tumutulong yan.
Hindi lang pera tong kumpanya to. At the same
I
time,
think that's a very good discussion upfront, Joe. Kailangan lumabas ito in the very first discussion.
at the same time, sir, for the education naman. So how can we study?
I mean, how would the communities ever
Yeah.
make sense of kung the children themselves can
Yeah, that's.
suffer ever. Yeah, cycle of poverty.
The same time, sir, sa level ng mga tao. Because we've been telling the house ng mga CSS, through this, maintindihan ako,
At
May sense of
yun?
purpose, di ba?
May sense of purpose. Paano? May pangalan na sino yun. Mas naintindihan
Maintindihan
nila.
nila. Mas yes, yung mga tao. Ayan, that's two things.
Okay, Joe, we came up with the answer. Okay.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yes. So we're trying to frame it as, these are things that we value, these are important to us. Why is it important? How does it work?
And studies would say, sir, man,
Yeah.
if an organization company does CSR,
Yeah.
talagang yung engagement is really.
Correct. Correct.
Study.
Joe, is that enough? I think that this is a good straightforward discussion, which is gonna be very.
Sa akin, enlightening sa mga salaries.
Yeah.
Kasi parang we've been pushing them on CSR kayo.
Yeah,
Kayo may-
Ma-appreciate.
Yeah,
appreciate
can-
nila.
I love the idea of connecting CSR to the actual value of the company. It's not just whitewashing. It's not just quote unquote giving back, but it's really an essential part of who we are. So yeah, looking forward to it. Can I ask for the recording?
So Joe, at one level, diba, we're saying, for the sustainability of the company, you have to be mindful of your relationship with your local community,
That's right.
right? You ignore that at your peril,
Yeah.
right? I mean, maybe on one day it's fine, day to day, but then over time, you know, you cannot ignore it, right? At one level, but at another level, it's like, in terms of our purpose and what we're trying to do, I mean, this is what we're trying to do. I mean, it is our purpose, right? So, we're helping the people who can afford to buy it.
Yeah.
But what can we do for the people that cannot afford it?
Exactly.
Or what can we do in a situation when,
Alam mo na lang ba?
yeah, I mean, they cannot afford
Yeah.
the typhoon now, or, right? So in a way, Joe, it's both from, this is our purpose, this is what we should be doing,
Yes.
and so how do we do it? But it's also from, guys,
Mm,
we really need to do this, right?
yeah.
Because it's a good thing to do, it's also necessary.
Yeah. So it's a good thing to do, and we need it to survive. So we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Parang ganon, so. Yeah. So, a quick kind of, thing lang for Mark. So when we go to the article, we have to talk about justice. So we have to just explain what have we done. So parang we can sort of take these basic concepts that we've already pushed out there. And then we'll tell them meron pang PAC. But we don't need to explain the PAC.
Yeah.
We'll say, well, we're still working on it. But at least, ito yung ginagawa natin for our values program, a little bit like commission sa McKinsey. This is what when we say justice, it's, di ba, kasi may follow through, I mean, we'll show that broader thing. And then we're doing the 4 life essentials and we're doing the justice. So parang ito yung we have to present the weekly thing. And then on this one, we just dive a bit into KUST with each one of the tatlong component para at least and some of them maybe they didn't even attend. So
is paano siya connected.
yes. I think they'll come on and explain what is a model of each one. So we just need to give that overview, where the main thing is they're like, wow, okay, I can see now how it's connected.
Yes, yeah.
You know, we're investing a fair amount of time on it.
Tito Jim, sorry.
But Joe, baka out of power. Joe,
Pause. CR lang ako. I'll be right back. Restroom ako. Hello? Yes. I can hear you.
go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, po.
Go for it.
Hello.
Okay.
Sige, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You heard me pala. Okay.
during the lead con, or or the ID. I remember certain things we might need to repeat twice and
Yeah.
or baka sa lead con mas short.
Because right now.
Bye, see you later.
Right now, it's red.
Bye. Right now, what?
Right
Right
now,
now,
media.
Ah,
Take care of it.
Right now.
Yeah, right
Right
now.
now.
Nagkiwa ka ba?
To go now, right now.
You have to go now.
Yes, right now.
So, yeah, so, but I was gonna say something. The,
Lead con and.
no, but on the justice, so we're kind of explaining you know, what I was gonna say is, so we'll explain that it's clear we're making a big investment.
Yes.
Diba? We have to be able to explain, ano yung role nila dyan,
Yes.
right? But, ano yung, I guess the question then is, how will this benefit the company?
Mm.
That's why this part of really tying it together,
Yeah.
hindi ito values in theory. Nakatali siya sa, so maybe that's the part that I need from them. How do you
Yeah.
make these values real?
Yeah.
Right, so, and what we're trying to do is so Joe, we're just talking about at the leadership conference.
Yeah.
We kind of, because of course, everyone has only experienced this as one individual session. And not everyone has attended all the sessions, so we kind of wanted to step back and just explain to everyone, guys, here's the method to the madness.
Mm.
Here's sort of what we've done so far.
Yeah.
We still have the ICE coming. We won't talk about it, but
Yeah.
it'll be similar. But then the question is what's your part, the HMs, right?
Yes.
What's your part? And I think it's in general, we want them to make these values real.
Yeah.
And that's why we're putting a lot of effort to connect the values to the everyday work,
And the work. Yeah.
right? How does that feel? How does
Yeah,
that feel?
yeah. It has to guide daily decisions.
Right, yeah.
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 Exactly, it has to guide daily and weekly decisions.
Right, and I think that's what's been evolving as we've been talking about it. We've been working hard to try to connect it. So the first
It
thing
has
is just
to show up
Yeah, the first thing is just to boil it down to be able to explain.
in as standard operating procedure.
Yeah, so first we have to explain it, then we have to sort of connect it to everyday life.
Yep.
So maybe as we do our value sessions, medyo yan yung guiding principles natin. Kailangan madaling explain, madaling intindihin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how does this connect to what they're supposed to do every day? Right, and then of course, ano yung magiging stop start, ano? So ano naman yung specific behavior
Ng mga leaders.
leaders, but also everybody, right? So yeah, I think that parang maybe when you explain, parang ganun yung design. We have corporate values which are important for the success of the company.
Yeah.
So for the company to succeed, everybody needs to be living by the corporate values. So how are we doing that? We've broken it down into justice. We've further broken it down into 3 or 4 per thing, so that we can explain what do we mean by that value. And then we try to connect it so people understand how those values can be applied in their work. And then after that, it becomes about behavior and follow through. Yeah. Oh, no, that's it. See, I didn't bring you both.
Dalawa na lang tayo.
Oo nga eh. Yan,
Just, nandiyan na yun eh.
Ha?
I really want,
Stop pa siya.
I really want to mention. Pastor Joe.
Sorry na wala ako sandali.
Tayo na lang.
Tayo na lang. Umalis na sina Pastor Marvin.
I just want to request na lang for the recording. Pakinggan ko siya ng paulit-ulit mamaya para magawan ko ng session in time for tomorrow's cadence.
Recording. Ako, sige, I will remember that. Hard stop.
Thank you.
Sige, ako rin. Yes.
Coming together.
Yan.
Yung right now media, maybe, di ba, kasi they have so much content.
Yes po.
I'm just thinking, di ba, so, siyempre, everyone can watch anything, but if we wanted to guide them,
Yes.
what did we look for? What are the series that have to do with the four essentials?
And yeah.
Or with things related to justice? So parang i-pull up, so yan yung follow through. You want to learn more?
Last Friday, meron tayong session. Tapos,
Yeah,
follow
you want to watch videos, di ba?
yeah, to ano lang.
Bahala na kayo, on your own na kayo dyan.
Actually, ano na yan eh, nasa ano namin ni DC.
Okay, good.
Medyo na si DC.
Yeah, I'm just saying, kasi nandito
Yes,
sa
sir.
labat, so.
Tapos sir, pero actually, si DC meron din siyang content lang.
Yeah.
Meron siyang initial plan.
Yeah. Kasi what we can do, because it's already free, it's already.
Yeah.
Instead of looking for other content.
Yes.
So, kung na, I'm sure meron yan.
Yun na lang, sir.
Okay, Joe, are we good?
I'm good. I'm just gonna ask for the recording and then I'll listen to it over and over to turn it into a session by tomorrow morning.
How do I stop the recording? I don't know. I hope I was recording.
Oh no.
Okay. I have two recordings. I have one from my AI device and one from Zoom, hopefully. So let me send it to you. All right.
Thank you. Bye guys.
Oh,
Thank you so
no,
much.
Let me show you something quickly.
Sure.
Which is sort of the next iteration of how we are communicating values. And basically I cribbed a lot of this from your dad. So I take no credit for coming up with the frameworks. Let me just see. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I gave a speech at McKinsey on they have a values day that I helped establish 23 years ago. Hanggang ngayon, they're still doing it. So the one way to talk about values, VQ, is, you know how your dad talks about there's IQ, there's EQ, and then there's VQ. So from the perspective of a successful company, and especially a company that's been around, let's say 100 years, like Ayala's been around for 190 years. The things that are important for the longevity and the success of a company are IQ, right? You need good strategies, dividing insights, etc. You need the
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you need the EQ, not just with your people, but also your customers, and even what we're talking about, you cannot be dissonant with the community, right? And it's interesting to look at Trump, because he has good EQ for the MAGA, but like for somebody
Not the
like
other
me,
groups. Yeah.
it turns me off, right? But he has very, very good EQ, you know, when it comes to the MAGA, right? So, and of course, like somebody like Hitler was very good. Otherwise, how did he mobilize all those people? So, okay yung IQ niya, okay yung EQ niya, but he had terrible VQ.
Yes.
Right? So in a company setting, it's the core purpose and core values that are also very critical for the longevity of a company. Right? So, yeah, so agree with that premise, Joe, so that framing. IQ, EQ, VQ. So then, of course, lots of people know about IQ, lots of people know about EQ. Very few people really know about what can I do to improve my VQ. So
Yeah.
So let's first talk about what do we mean by values. This is what ChatGPT said. Deeply held principles serve as internal compasses. They guide our decisions, shape our behaviors, and define what we believe is right, important, and worthwhile. Right, so super critical, but it shapes what we do every day, right? In our identity. Di ba? So,
Yep.
so then from there, I started to talk about what can we do? Let's unpack values a little bit more. I gave my own personal example about my values journey. Over time, what I value the most shifted, right? So values is a choice. And if you choose a value and you're consistent with those values, you then need to master those values, right? You have to become good at them.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's time, effort, investment, right? In order to become good at it. So,
Yeah.
just highlighted this by my personal example to show, because most of them knew me from before, but today, this is who I am, and it's very different from what I was before.
Yeah.
Basically, it's intentional, and it also, defines, your identity, right? That's at a personal level. When we do it from a company level, so I thought then at Hybrid, it starts with your purpose and your mission, your vision. So we have a threefold mission, with one with respect to clients, bringing them from darkness to light. Then we have with respect to staff, from survival to significance, and then society, which is what we're talking about now with the CSR, from vulnerable to empowered. Right? So
Yep.
the values are expressed in the context of what you're trying to do and what's important to you. So then we talked about this, the personal values, company values, societal values. And in order to have a high VQ, it starts with who do we hire? It's ideally people with the right fit to begin with on the culture. And then we focus and we hammer on the core values, which is what we're doing with you on the company values, but what we're also doing with the pastors of the life essentials. And then kailangan may follow through. How does it get to the daily behaviors? Stop, start, continue, right? And then, but there's also something about getting good at it,
Hmm.
right? And then we want to inspire others to do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So within the company, we have programs for
Hmm.
family, that's the 4 life essentials. We
Yep.
have
Yep.
the justice program, and then we have our CSR programs for society. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well thought out.
Right. And then follow through. We have to train the people, train the managers. We're putting up the accountability groups. We have coaches and chaplains. And then all of this is also included in the performance assessments. So yan yung I just wanted to share that with you. Of course, we have more slides. This is the culture fit. Who do we hire?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then these are our 4 life essential programs that the
Nice.
pastors are doing. Right. And then ito yung justice program. And the justice, in terms of the whole program, has the values day, has the weekly values, has the stop, continue agreements, has the team barometer. We'll have the Justice League Awards.
Yeah.
We have the values are included in performance assessments, and then chaplains are providing counseling and trainings. Yeah, and then of course from a CSR standpoint, then this is our Light and Love program and
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is our impact. This is not the framework, right, of how do you your video as a company. Ito yung generic framework. What do you think, Mr. Joe?
I love it because I love how well thought out it is. Yung, kasi nga, you know what they say, diba, sa Apple, na simplicity, it's very hard to get to simplicity. It's easier to have disjointed frameworks and disjointed models, but to have a framework like this where each layer builds on each other so that the power increases. You know what I mean? That takes work to think through that. So that's what I love. And then the connection part with personal, with the company, with society. I love that idea because we're not at odds. Diba? As a company, we're not trying to position ourselves that sacrifice your personal for us or sacrifice the society for us. No, we believe if we all work together, we all can win, and that's the goal. How to find a model where all of us win.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Hey man, this reflects, this is our discussions over weeks and weeks. I'm just trying to avoid, we just keep working it and keep simplifying it. That's important because at the end, it's very complex. But if it's too complex, people can't understand and you don't get anywhere, diba? So we make it simple, we just keep hammering it, right? We're very consistent. Yeah, eventually, parang it will all, hopefully it will all sink in. Yeah, okay?
Great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then, I don't know if you've seen this video. Because the value that we were talking about is the obligation to engage in dissent. And this is the video, I'll just show it real quick. I don't know if the audio comes out. Not audio now, but basically, it just shows, sorry. It's not moving. Okay, never mind, but basically it shows different people like Einstein, like Branson, like, Thomas Edison, or just different people who, kind of were geniuses, but they were mavericks and they were, and basically because they thought differently,
Yes.
that's what moved the needle. You have to
Yeah.
be able to think. So hopefully we're kind of pioneers in this space, on the BQ space. I am just your father's apostle. And, but hopefully, I mean, my role is, I'm Saint Paul, I'm going out to the Gentiles. And, trying to bring the thinking. Yeah, so just wanted to communicate that to you, just to help you also with your own mental mapping.
Super thankful and glad to see how this part fits with the whole thing.
Yeah, and again, I'm just finding a way to reflect on and summarize and encapsulate everything that we've been doing for the last months. So thanks, I really enjoy working with you guys.
Thanks also.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Thank you.
I'll wait for the recording. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll send you the recording, Pastor.
Yeah, I will, let me start that now.
Sige pa. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Let me.